got, including our features, we've got 19 people on the list. So as much as we would like to give everybody 5 minutes, you know, 3 is probably more practical. So 2 poems, 3 minutes, if you can do that, please. And then everybody gets a chance. So a couple of announcements about events. I want to remind you that we're coming to the end of the season, and a lot of the readings shut down for the summer. So take advantage of it while you can. Okay, we're going to get it going, and I'm going to start with, since it is Mother's Day, I stretched, I don't know, try to find something. I wish it was a little more positive, but you get what you get. And then, so a short one and then another one. Mother's Day among the headstones. By morning we go among the headstones, where the dead make their silent wail. Out of grasses their voices echo. Though none can hear, I ask, Mother, to who should I answer? By what voice should I praise you? Whose hand will reach out, a crutch against the fall? Will you hear me when it's my voice that fails? And when the apples were ripening. Father, when the apples were ripening, I waited for you. It was summer when the undertaker's daughter left with the circus. I wanted to ask you on that evening, watching her flagged caravan depart, how what I thought was love could die. Father, I remember when you were a tree, all your years bearing fruit, standing with you on the banks of the mad river. We were fishermen then. I remember you taught me there is a depth to things like rivers, like trees. You said, but love is the most mysterious of all deep things. You said, son, fish there, along the faster currents. Learn to read how the water moves. Become a fish in your heart. And when you become hungry, let someone catch you, because that's how love works. And when you are caught by love, tend to the years you are given like trees until you are an orchard. Don't ask for anything from the undertaker's daughter. She's been where she's going. Go where you have not been, my son. Mystery will find you there. It is she who will love you deeply, and that is sweet, sweet fruit indeed. First up, Sharon Munson.
Thank you, Charles. One poem for Mother's Day. Oh, Mom, I clean out shelves in my linen closet where I store bath towels, sheets, and the few things left that belonged to you. I reach far back into the back behind clutter and extract your beige leather shoes, the ones you wore toward the end. Lace up Oxfords extra deep with the scuff on the side where they rubbed. It was the scuff that brought me tears, that jaunty clip to your walk.
Randy Luce. Did that right?
Yeah. This is from my novel, Motherless Children, self-published. This is the prologue on a large plantation in the Mississippi Delta, 1921. They didn't even tell us, not at first, not when they should have. We was washing up the morning dishes in the kitchen, and we just saw so much out the window into the yard behind the house. Me and Lena, watching all those peoples running here and there. One of them should have come told us. First was Orem by himself. He came running up to the house looking like he'd done seen a ghost. Tore right past us through the kitchen and fetched Mr. Byron. They go on out to that shed where Mr. Bryan kept the buggies and that automobile of his. Then it was Mr. Bryan himself, running hard back to the house, through the kitchen, through the house, yelling, "Who's here?" He went right past us. He got Miss Adelia, told her to call the doctor and the sheriff. Then he went back outside, and still he told us nothing. Later those other men came, the sheriff and his police and the doctor. We just stayed in the kitchen doing our work real slow, looking out into the yard to see what the fuss was. Years later, first time I went to a moving picture show, one of those old ones before they be talking, I near fell out. Those men in that picture show, silent and far away, small, flat and thin, raising such a fuss over what I didn't know, put me in mind of this day, of me and Lena looking out that kitchen window at those white men way across the yard, the doctor, the police, and Mr. Bryan ordering everybody about. We saw them shouting, but we couldn't hear a word. We saw them running and didn't know what for, because nobody told us, not yet. I remember it was just like that, like watching a picture show, silent, with the dark not noticed, but still all around the screen. We saw the sheriff's men coming out of the shed, carrying a body wrapped in a sheet. Him and the doctor pointing, and them putting that body in the sheriff's wagon. None of it looked real. That's how I remembered it, be it was that way or no. And then, after the doctor left, the sheriff and Mr. Byron were still out in the yard talking, gesturing like they was arguing, and then Mr. Bryan marched right up to the window, and me and Lena moved back quick and started putting those dishes away. We heard Mr. Bryan cussing and calling out our names through the window, rapping on that window with his hand. He should have told us then. That was his last chance. In my memory, that's where the picture show stops. Mr. Bryan takes us to the sheriff's automobile. We get in. Lena starts crying. Nobody tells us nothing. They carry us to the sheriff's office. It's a long ride. We're too afraid to speak. We pass the wagon carrying that body wrapped up like a cigar. Me and Lena, we dare not look back after we pass. But they don't put us in jail, just down in the basement, and tell the janitor to stay with us. After a good while, they carry us upstairs and into a room, and there's that dead body covered by a sheet. They want us to tell them who it is. A white man pulls the sheet down just past the eyes. We know, but I don't say nothing except to ask them to pull the sheet down farther. I have to see it all for myself. I nod my head and start to cry, and Lena has gone down to her knees, her head and arms on Daddy's body, her back heaving, but the sound's choked up in her. Some white man's telling us what happened. Where Daddy's mouth and chin should be, it's just a hole filled with flesh, blood, and bone, like slick red crumbled bread. He shot himself, the white man says, with a shotgun. I nod, my eyes all blurry, while the other white man pulls the sheet back over Daddy's head.
Next up, Grace Richards.
This one is called Break Up Hair, and Stephen will accompany me on the drum. Like Lilith rising from the Red Sea, having refused to submit to Adam, forever expelled from the Garden of Eden, replaced by Eve, that mouse, I carry on with my fabulous, freshly cut, flame colored hair. Lovely like Rita Hayworth, not meter maid, as Gilda, coppery curls shimmering, cascading, sultry like Anne Margaret, hips swaying across the dance floor, singing Bye Bye Birdie, Bye Bye, or Julianne Moore, statuesque, alabaster, classic. Regal like the first Queen Elizabeth, bright, tight waves drawn above her brilliant aristocratic brow, erotic and ethereal like Venus on the half-shell, tresses long, luxuriant swirls, draping around her hips in lush serpentine curves. Like a femme fatale, I might stalk you, seduce you with my new Betty Page bangs. I'm dangerous, my shining hair stolen from the flames of hell. I'm electric, untamed. I'm a copperhead with a temper. I could take revenge. Out of the ash I rise with my red hair, and I eat men like air.
All right, Charles Thielman.
You might tighten that because it drifts.
Yeah, it's drifting.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, hello. So I brought a Mother's Day poem, and this is, let me give a preface for this. Through the 70s and 80s into the 90s, and actually here in Eugene when I moved from Portland, I worked with the Committee in Support of the People of El Salvador, the Nicaragua Support Committee, and then the Committee in Support of the People of Central America. As a bus driver, a TriMet bus driver in Portland, one of my favorite routes was going by a immigrant refugee apartment complex. Had 700 apartments, and had people from Haiti as well, in Africa, but a lot of Central American people. So this is for the mothers who are here now and are trying to get here now and are at our borders. May they retrieve their children. Refugee immigrant. She huddles into a seat on my Portland bus, fire scars on her Mayan face. Her neck, she clasps her hands in her lap. The brown hand that wove sandals for children's feet, I don't know. I close the doors and check my mirrors for incoming traffic. I do know. I pull at the wheel, and with tan brown hands and dust rises in the hot yellow light of July. Above mountains far, far south of here, an Apache helicopter that we sold to their military. Above mountains far south of here, an Apache helicopter searches for caves to rocket. May there be peace at our border. Thank you.
Well, in addition to this being Mother's Day, I'm told it's also National Limerick Day. And you may not have known this, but Burning Down the Barnes has connections at the highest levels. So today we were able to get from the American Limerick Society, they sent their ambassador. Please welcome Joshua Mertz.
Yes, I'm here representing the ALS. So, it is Mother's Day, and I would like to do a few things for Mom. But first of all, I sat down and wrote a limerick just off the top of my head. It probably is terrible, but this is, I didn't even read it over once I'd written it. So you guys get subjected to this. It does. It's right here. It runs all the way across. It's Limerick Day, all you mothers. Such a light, lilting form that can smother all the stuff that is serious with some rhymes most delirious and leave critics saying, oh, brother. And one from, I was going to do like a real serious poem. Not going to do that. Not going to do that one. I remember Mom. God, oh, great Mom. Thank you, Mom. One time I was just getting ready to go to bed. I was a late teenager, and she looked at me and she said, "Do you love me or do you not? You told me once, but I forgot." And I went in the bedroom and thought about it and came back 2 minutes later and said, "Of course I love you, lots and lots. So don't give me no I forgots." So we'll do a non-limerick here first, and then I'll do some brain surgery limericks for you, haha. Okay, this is called listening. "So, world," the man said, "let's talk." He waited for a reply. There was none, except some clouds and a bit of wind. "What does it all mean?" he asked, expecting no reply, and again being pleased when there was none. "I thought so," he said softly. A bird whistled in a nearby tree, poignant, fulsome, glad. The sun pressed down with its brilliant arc of physics infusion on the hungry leaves of the tree. The bird took to the sky, scooping the miracle of air into the miracle of flight. And then the tree spoke in its language of shadow to the man cradled against its bark. "What the heck are you talking about?" There was no reply. And yes, I did have brain surgery back last month, and I woke up with puns and limericks, so you guys are in for it now. They cut off the top of my head to fix all the bugs, so they said, but they found tons and tons of ridiculous puns and glued the top back on instead. I'd a squid in my head, so it seems, who was messing around with my dreams. The surgeon's steel prod plucked the cephalopod away from those horrible schemes. And finally, I had something done to my cranium, something to do with my brainium, some slice, poke, and tinker to mess with my thinker, and I hope it is not all in vanium. Thank you so much.
Never disappoints. Next up, Michael Walridge. Come get him.
Same problem. No excuse for having a large family, but that's where I came from. Madonna and child, or how I was able to prolong having a mother. My favorite Madonna and child image is not on the web, nor is it in a book. It is a black and white snapshot of my sister Donna at age 15, holding me at 2 months old. Her broad smile lights up the picture, and my serious pout produces the shadows. I was 10 when I learned that Donna was short for Madonna, and I laughed, and she laughed and frowned, and I could tell that she was glad I had asked. 20 years later, at my mother's funeral, Katie's funeral, I had a glass of wine that got me thinking about Katie being in her mid-40s when she had me. So I asked my 5 sisters, which one of you is my real mother? Laughter rustled through the church basement. Eve and Sharon were too young, and Arlene and Marlis flexed the bones in their necks and denied it. But I could tell they were glad I asked. So that left Madonna, who had just told a story about getting caught sneaking up the squeaky old staircase in our old farm house at 2 o'clock in the morning with beer on her breath. This is what I call mesoderm. Mesoderm is the middle of 3 germ layers of an embryo that is the source of many bodily tissues and structures such as bone and muscle and collective tissue and dermis. Broadly, tissues derive from this germ layer. My mother was right about girls and germs. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you, Michael. Next up, Catherine McGuire.
I can always hang on to it. Okay, no problem. Okay, well, I just found out that Finishing Line Press has accepted a chapbook of mine called Inner Quicksand, An Inner Quicksand. I don't know when it'll be out, but I'm going to read a couple of poems from that, and it's kind of a coming out poem of early childhood trauma, so I'm ambivalent about it coming out, but it's not just about that. Segment 11. My sick cat insists on sleeping like a child tucked against my neck, her weakening pulse hot against mine. All day I've carried 8 pounds until my arm was numb, carried this compressed bit of time, which will soon be memory. She shifts, lays her head on my shoulder, braces feet on my palm. I think of mothers with children's heads heavy, feverish, or cradling cold bodies, disbelieving this ocean of grief. Okay. I'm trying to say how loss becomes entangled, every strand pulling up the whole. Or, like sepia, it stains and spreads until it's all one big loss, everything tinged, saturated. Or, like a thinly fractured goblet, trivia ringing along a primal crack that, root-piercing, sounds both deep and minor taps the same, like wearing death-colored glasses. One last piece. This one is about a day of, you're right, this is about a day of witness for those who are disabled or home from illness. How do you shape the invisible, mark what isn't there, or who, in this case? Empty shoes on the lawn, the library steps, the town squares, marking for a few hours the place of those trapped indoors by illness, by pain too great. Sneakers, pumps, mules, moccasins, they're all representative, saying no one is exempt. This could be you someday. Invisible to everyone except those who love you enough to stay connected. Millions, think of it, once teachers, gardeners, lawyers, clerks, and those who never got to do any job. The whole spectrum, here and not here. Remember, for one day, remember those who can't be here, can't join your group, see your movie. Lives lived within 4 walls and a ceiling. Lives you'll never encounter. Except here. Thank you.
Next up, Ren Barger, is that right? Barger.
Alrighty. Welcome to Mother's Day. This is called Off the Grid. Getting away from it all, free from the treadmill, if you have the gall. Living near the margins and still making it pay, shrinking your footprint to have your own way. Living on less by making it more, letting Mother Nature be your corner store. It's a hard road to hoe, made for hermits, they say, in the land of the free. It's the loam of the brave. Tilling the old way, a step back in time, a labor of love, far away from sublime. But after the sweat, the bruises and pangs, there's the affirmation when you're self-sustained. Solar and wind, compost and tools, all meant to survive a legacy of fools, leading the way, away from the crowd, labeled a skeptic, afraid, disavowed, caught up in the past with a futurist view. Can one's love of the land somehow pull us through? And I didn't know this was Limerick Day, but this is sort of a Limerick-esque poem here called No Longer from Cucamonga. He's no longer from Cucamonga, still plays the congas and likes the rumba. He moved on west to Alhambra, so he's no longer from Cucamonga. She takes her saunas in Tijuana. She fed her llama in her pajamas. One day she fell from her veranda, now in a coma, not Tijuana. They bought a Nova in Nova Scotia, owned by her brother, left by his mother. Could not take it back to old Petrova. They left their Nova in Nova Scotia. Jake was a trooper, not very super. He pulled a blooper, a boozer-doozer, drank something dour while in his prowler. Not doggy poopers call him the scooper. Once met a pixie way down in Dixie, said he's a gypsy from South Poughkeepsie. He liked the guys more than the chicks, see, just moved to Dixie for the whiskey.
I think that's called taking a limerisk. Next up, my good friend Donna McNeil.
I think I'm going to talk to Joshua's surgeon, maybe have a procedure because some of that humor would do me well. I want to read first Night Terrors. Breath ragged, pounding heart aches, stress-filled dream, a two-act drama. Act 1, a tabletop, arms, hands strained to remove wrinkles, restore order, stroke again and again and again to make it perfect, avoid failure. Annoyance swells to frustrated ineffectiveness. Act 2, my dead sister's home. I enter with suitcase, sense indifference in turned heads, oblique looks, raised desire to please, triggered low-level tension, urge to change quickly, be ready to leave. Clothes long packed, need pressing, I rush about in search of tools to make me presentable. Mental clock ticks off time, each breath more rapid, ragged, fiery, anxious ball grows. No iron found, pulse pounds, thudding pain grabs my chest, ready to burst. Then I'm awake. In the chill gray dawn, silent house, I lean into the couch as fear simmers with slow, deliberate breaths, eyes focused on the rising sun, drumming slows. A better story. A friend tells of cultural encounters abroad, how simple meals built bridges and nature's gifts, translated from garden to table, nurtured trust, fostered understanding. Such humble offerings, enriched by generosity, exude hope and holy possibility. Shared food, shared lives, shared stories. Commonalities emerge from rich differences. Images shimmer. Warmth lingers long after stories end. Embers of a dampened blaze, quietly contemplated, savored. Heading home today, reality pours from the car radio, portrays a world potent with anger, fear, rupture. Storytellers, let's write a new story. differences embraced, hatred dispelled, divisions overcome. We must find the words.
All right, next up, Eileen Dawson Peterson. All right.
Yep.
First, I'd like to read a poem dedicated to my sister-in-law who has a summer home in the Laramie Mountains. Heat waves rise from macadam isles. A signpost shows us this is the place we turn off onto gravel over the undulating Laramie landscape. Shadow upon shadow cast by pines and rocky outcroppings dapple the way from gully to hilltop. The road curves at the rise, drops away. We startle elk grazing. Prairie dogs pop out of their burrows. A fork, no sign to guide us onto the narrow dirt road into a quiet meadow. Amber dust clouds rise behind us, over a log bridge, no water beneath. We continue deeper into the foothills until at an unmarked spot we turn onto trackless grass. We top a small rise, catch our breath. There it is, the cabin nestled beside an azure pond, forested hills rising beyond its blueness. Deep in the Laramie Mountains, we deeply breathe in this pristine beauty, find silence, peace. We have arrived at still home. And then I would like to read this poem that is dedicated to Dorothea Lange in honor of her famous photo, The Migrant Mother. I have become a woman I do not know, a woman who works in dirt, lives in dirt, whose bread is dusted with dirt. My children know only this grayness that envelops us, keeps the light from us. My baby will surely die. My breasts offer him no nourishment. This life offers no nourishment. My tears have dried up with my milk. My children do not know the me who could have filled them with hot food, learning, joy, and laughter. I have no more strength for the road that is passing me by, stretching into tomorrow after tomorrow. I really enjoy writing ekphrastic poems, so that one I think. And then I want just some silliness called Double Take. The always available brunette bombshell chews contentedly on her delicious doublemint while epistemological eyes fix favorably on her Galatean gams, housed halfway in improbably innocent jaunty jodhpurs, karmically keeling loosely leeward, maximizing maladroit and nakedly nuanced, yet offenseless opportunities for a pronounced preponderance of quintessentially quasi-rhetorical revelations, sumerically sophomoric, tantalizingly tawdry, and utterly umbrageous, a vacuously vague and witlessly wanton xenophobic, zaphoidic yammering, yielding a zigzagging zero.
Next up, Sandy Scher.
I just wrote this because this just happened this week.
And if you've ever been to Seattle and on the Puget Sound where the cruise ships come in, the Norwegian cruise ships, this is right where that happened. Mary died this week in a little bed by a window that overlooking the Puget Sound where passengers board cruise ships to seek out whales and boundless waves and soft sea spray. I sat with Mary one day before she left and watched her lift an already ghost-like hand, pull the sheer white curtain back, and almost smile as the Norwegian Joy dropped her ropes and headed resolutely out to sea. I thought her soul might catch the joy, but she wisely waited for the bliss. Just one day later, and her best shot for a smooth ride straight into heaven. I wrote this a long time ago, but it kind of, when I went through all this, it reminded me of it, so let's see if I can remember it. Forgive me if I backtrack a little, but I think I've got it. Within me floats a wail from another time and place, more ancient, brave, and true. She struggles to escape when I am close to waves. I feel the power of her giant heart pounding against my fears. This sad aquarium is too small to hold so grand a creature, and beached whales are like unhappy endings.
Right, next up, Brian Salisbury.
I got one full-page poem and 2 half-pages, 2 pages of poetry.
3 minutes, Brian.
I know.
All right, 3 minutes.
All right.
3 minutes, Brian.
All right. Follow that Johnson County car. We would say on our 2,000-mile commute to our Grandma Neva's house, she who was born with a call, perhaps a little bit psychic, memory occasionally running backwards. Mostly I remember the basement, the smell of wet metal pipes and a dust-dry ping-pong table, the fleshy feel of air mattresses, the extraterrestrial din of cicadas, the group joy of kick baseball with dozens of cousins, which everyone was good at, especially Mickey, who after making a base gleefully sat on the ball as if to hatch it. Delight of a leaping child can be bottled. We do it all the time with adult-proof caps. And the making and smashing of little stick houses at the base of a great oak and playing tag among the evergreen bushes with blue balls. No, it wasn't cold. Abushon pines, a memory dream says, and strange little bugs cloaked in pine needles, and upstairs among the cookie jars in the kitchen and beneath the grotesque gold mantle roosters where we kids would play war and concentration. The pungent smell of pipe tobacco. My grandpa Floyd used to sit reading his paper until he died years ago of a bad heart, leaving the land on which now sits a local radio station to be ripped off by his partners from his widow, who has now faded away from a brain tumor. She, who had this terrific memory, working for years for the post office, could tell you how to get from anywhere to anywhere. Grandma, guru of getting there, has left the map. Durga is about the mother goddess of the Hindu pantheon. It's one of my mandala series from Art Museum, mandala paintings. A mandala is a cosmic diagram used as an aid in meditation. The central deity represents Durga in her manifestation as Mahishumsumordiyai, slayer of the buffalo demon. She stands triumphant with her 18 arms, brandishing various weapons, while dispatching with trident the demon Mahisha. The lotus petals surrounding her contain the 8 mother goddesses, the Hindu triad, Shiva the destroyer on the bull Nandi, Brahma the creator on the swan-like Hansa, and Vishnu the preserver on half-giant, half-eagle Garuda. Surmounts the mandala. The gods are flanked by Surya, the sun on left, and Chandra, the moon on right. The rest of the planetary deities are shown below. Don't mess with her. Okay, this is not by me, it's by Voznesensky, translated by Robert Bly, and with a Jackson Pollock illustration. Dark Mother's Scream is a Siberian dance, cry from prison or a yell for help, or perhaps God is another word for it. Ominous little grin, Dark Mother's Scream. Dark Mother's Scream is the ecstasy of the sexual gut. We let the past sink into Dark Mother's Scream also. You, we, ooh, with her eyes closed, woman moans in ecstasy, Dark Mother Scream. Dark Mother Scream is the original mother of languages. It is silly to trust minds, it's silly to argue against it. Prognosticating by computers, we leave out Dark Mother Scream. How is it going, Dark Mother Scream? Mother Scream, Mother Scream. Oh, okay, we'll do it, we'll do it. The teachers can't handle Dark Mother Scream. That is why Lermontov is untranslatable. When the storm sang in Yella Buga, what did it say to her? Dark Mother Scream. Meanwhile, go on dancing, drunker and drunker. Shagadam, Magadam, Dark Mother Scream. Don't forget, Rome fell, not having grasped the phrase, Dark Mother Scream.
Thank you, Brian. Just a reminder, even on a good night, it's 2 poems or 5 minutes. When we got a big full house, it's 2 poems or 3 minutes, please. Next up, please welcome James Otter.
Hey folks. So this poem's very serious. It's actually a response poem. Because I want to break down the idea that people who... It's serious, this is about shooters. Alright. Nobody should ever remember a mass shooter not by name. Not by hobby either. They should be known as a number. Their body count should be known as people. People he murdered. His motivation should be known as a common curse, nothing special. He should not be treated as a poster child for what's wrong with society. He is a number, a blank face with no respect for life. Giving him a name, letting him keep his name, is giving him power he can carry with him after his crimes. No more high scores, no more falsehoods. It only makes them stronger. Mass shooters are the bullies, not the other way around. They are not the victim. They cashed in on what society gave them. Money bought them the control they wanted. Our government doesn't hate mass murderers. They glorify them as tragic villains. No killer deserves more than a mention. They are the statistic, not the victim. All that was known of them deserves to be left unknown, for they are mere numbers. We are not their body count. We are not a scoreboard. They deserve to be punished, not rewarded with news media. I know why they did it. Because they could and they wanted to. This system feeds them a platform, and one day it will be taken away. Until then, we must give them a number and take away their fame. Alright, that was really heavy. So let's see if I got something funny I can read really quick. Just one joke. Let's see if I got any jokes. Okay, I can think of one thing. You know Jackson Pollock? I heard him mention. Oh yeah, brilliant poetry, everyone. Jackson Pollock. You never want to walk in on that guy painting. Ever. Just don't. It is so uncomfortable. Anyway, I do a poetry night every Tuesday. It's called Page 2. I highly recommend going there, not because I host it, but because everyone there is very sweet, just like yourselves. Thank you for coming out to Burning Down the Barnes.
I highly recommend it too. Another regular from Kush Cafe. Please welcome Sam. Come get him.
Sam!
Looking up into our interstellar past, not even realizing there lies miles of stars. An interstellar past full of interstellar memories flooding our sky with no end in sight. So many possibilities out there in this interstellar highway leading back to us one day. an unexplained interstellar past which baffles the most intelligent of us all. Maybe it's meant to be left alone. An interstellar past from which we are a part of, making our dreams what they are. And what fun would it be if we knew everything and had no mystery?
Next up, Joan Davey, please.
Pick the next one after, I'll come in a minute.
All right, Jules, you're up. Joan, you're up after Jules.
All right, I feature obscure songs, obscure movies. This is from a movie called Panama Hattie, and it's a woman's point of view, and it's called Boy, Did I Get Stinkin' at the Club Savoy. It was just a birthday party. I mean, we were just out for some innocent fun, but when I wasn't looking, it sneaked up on me, and now the damage is done. Boy, did I get stinking at the Club Savoy. Why was I thinking I was Myrna Loy? When did I start mixing with the hoi polloi? Boy, did I get stinking at the Club Savoy. Now, why did I get chummy with the band leader Jack? And why was I riding on his piggyback? Then I stood up and was swinging on a bright chandelier. Boy, did I get tighter than a mouse's ear. Now, Edie was a lady. A lady, that's right. I thought I was a lady till that night. Boy, did I get stinking at the Club Savoy. Ho, 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 ho. I really wasn't thinking when I started into drinking, and I wound up getting stinking at the Club Savoy. Ho hum, ho, ho, ho hum. You really would have died if you saw me getting fried and wound up getting pie-eyed at the Club Savoy.
Something relatively new?
No, something very old.
Oh, I thought you were writing it as you were going. All right, come do it.
Hi. Yeah, I was writing. I was remembering. I forgot it was Mother's Day, which is silly because I had just had a Mother's Day lunch, but anyway. My son is now 44 years old, and he sent me a Mother's Day card that said something to the effect of, after everything that happened, aren't you pleased that I turned out sort of normalish? Happy Mother's Day. And I remembered just now, because it's Mother's Day, that, back in 1983, when I first came to Eugene and I was all involved in poetry and stuff, and I had two little kids, well, one semi-teenager and one little guy, which was Andy. And it sort of bothered me that once you're a mother, people think that you've lost your sexuality, which I didn't think I had. So I wrote this Mother's Day poem. And I remember it pretty well, which is why I just wrote it down again, but probably not perfectly. But it was for that reason. It's called My Name is Mummy. My name is Mummy, and I got that way because I grew a bright red flower in between my legs, and what's more, I'm proud of it. I found my man, and I opened my heart, and I planted his seed in the deep red garden of me, and it grew legs that could walk, and arms that could hug, and a tongue that could talk, and its name was Andy. Now Andy and me, we fly kites together, and we ride bikes together, and we say, boy, boy, crazy boy, and we say, mummy, mummy, crazy mummy, all up and down the streets of Eugene, Oregon. And Andy, he knows all about flowers, and he's not ashamed of flowers. And Andy, he knows that a great big bright red rose with a great big bright green thorn is just the absolutely perfect present to give to his mummy on Mother's Day. Two poems. The other one I just did just write last night or something. It's very new. I wrote it because of a writing prompt, so it's got the words in it. It's actually an almost true story told to me by a Caribbean friend. I don't try to put on the Caribbean accent. I'm not good at that. But it's about a hurricane. It's called Hurricane Hattie. That picture you showed me, it's a ghost dog. Do you see it? And it's running straight for me out of the dark. I remember that dog. I was a kid then. And he used to jump up onto my chest, just about knock me over every time. I can still feel his toenails digging into my chest. That soreness. Now it's an ache in the heart. He was my very own dog. Papa, the only dog I ever really loved. I can still smell the dog smell of him. Dog smell that I loved on my hands. That was before the '63 hurricane. Hattie, they called her. Mad, crazy lady made out of wind, dance, or the breeze. That's what we say in my country. We say the breeze blew. And that day in November, the breeze blew and blew strong. It picked up the whole ocean, it felt like, and threw it up into the air like a water balloon. Our houses were groaning and screeching, boards crashing in air. I heard my mom holler, "Run up that hill, go boy, run, fast." We were drowning in seawater, rain, tears, and mud. The floods were tremendous. The dead floated by, all bloated and awful. I saw a live rat pass the cracked window. His boat was a dead man. My mom was trying to cover my eyes. I heard a sound like a sob coming out of my throat. I suppose I was crying. And when it was over, nothing was left. All the trees flat on the ground, here and there a crushed coconut oozing its milk. Our home just a pile of old sticks, a wall here and there. And then came the British, all smart in their uniforms, marching like in a parade with their long, shiny guns. They were coming to help us, they said, and they did. They built us a whole new town on top of the old one, and that's where they put us. They even named the town for us, Hattiesburg, after the hurricane. We were meant to be grateful. My dog was a lab kind of dog, smaller, I guess, black as night. I loved that dog, Papa. A dog's tongue, my grandpa used to say, was for healing. If you had an infection, like a sore toenail or a bad cut, let the dog lick it. That's what we all did back then. But the soldiers, they shot all the dogs. Disease, they said, can't risk disease. Then they went one by one into our broken down houses shooting the dogs. We tried to hide Papa, but nowhere to hide. I'll never forget it. We were in what was left of my grandmother's kitchen. I was trying to hold his mouth shut and whispering every damn prayer I could think of, but he shook me loose and he ran. I heard the guns shooting. It sounded like thunder all night they were shooting. And when we got into our new British-built town, the one they called Hattiesburg, there weren't any dogs anymore. But it was all right. We got used to it, you know? You get used to things.
You might want that. Next up, Stephen Blue. Stephen, you'll bring up our features.
Alrighty. So I have one that's current events and politics. I haven't done one of those in a while, but I got a new one that I just wrote recently. So I want to read that real quick. Undertow, March 2019. It's like a war zone out here. Our neighbor found a dead buck in their backyard under a tree, shot several times. In the Army Corps land, to the south of here, shots ring out every morning early. Sounds like enemy fire not too far away. The fog is lingering low out in the Corps, like another dimension. It makes you wonder, in this time of trouble everywhere, is it just another symptom of the madness going on? Hellfire! It's a war zone in California now. People in masks running. Can't believe the decimation. It was never like this. Before there would be fires, sure, but not like a Holocaust, wiping out complete cities. Ice storms in the east create the unbelievable contrast, surreal, like reality shows on the news every night. The plight of the everyday person just trying to survive, just trying to make a way, gets caught up in the madness of the undertow. Nobody can win. Greed and lust for power are the kingpin. Okay, so that's it for the open mic, and we're going to bring up our two features to close us out again for this wonderful Mother's Day reading. And Tom, would you like to start? Okay. Tom Titus.
Get it? It's Mother's Day, but I wanted to read one in honor of my father. We lost him just about a year ago. It's called Aaron's. My father was fascinated, I would say obsessed, by the Cascadia subduction earthquake. The big one didn't happen in his lifetime, but on this April afternoon, 2 weeks after his death, the tectonics of seasonal change were in full swing as spring shouldered over the immovable mass of winter. A half-moon ghost floated in the southeast, washed pale by a tsunami of sunshine streaming across the wide blue-eyed sky. Small lemon-lime chandeliers of big-leaf maple flowers swung in a gently breeze. I was nearly out of coffee. No one wants me to run out of coffee. So I buy 10 pounds at a time from a roaster nestled beneath Interstate 5 on a hill above Glenwood. With my coffee safely stowed in the back seat, drove down the hill, spaces in my head filled with the aroma of freshly roasted beans. There was one more errand on the way to Mom and Dad's place, now just Mom's place. At the funeral home, the pleasant young woman knew me. Apparently I'd gone to high school with her aunt and uncle. She told me her aunt had stalked me online. Then she disappeared into the back and returned with a small shopping bag. Inside was a cardboard container. I signed the form. She ignored my photo ID. I carried the bag into the surging warmth. It was surprisingly heavy, this concentrated density of what once was my father's physical presence in this world. The ashes went into the back seat next to the beans. The parcels were similar in size. At Mom's house, she had me set the container on a counter in the utility room just to the right as you enter the back door. I changed into work clothes, opened a cold beer, and went into the garage to continue overhauling my utility trailer. Dad built the trailer when I was 10, gave it to me in 1984 as a going-away present when I moved to Kansas for graduate school. Since then, the trailer has been rebuilt multiple times, but lately it was in a desperate state. The final straw happened the day before Dad landed in the hospital the last time. I knocked a fender off trying to chuck a heavy round of firewood into the box. In the emergency room, I told Dad about the fender. He forced a small smile along with a barely audible, "Oh yeah?" Those were his last words to me. That laconic acknowledgement that the trailer was in need of attention. I promised him I'd pack the wheel bearings with fresh grease when I rebuilt the box. Bearings spin more freely with fresh grease. On most days, gratitude for Dad and his life keeps me spinning freely. But even on liquidy, warm, sunshiny afternoons in April, there's that small resistance of grief. Most of the time, my grieving isn't heavy. It's the tiny, persistent weight of loss. It holds me back a little, like a long climb up a gentle hill. It's the slow grinding of land masses sliding across themselves, punctuated by unpredictable tremors. It is never the big one.
Thanks again, Tom. And to close us out, Theo Czuk.
That's more like it. So I'm playing with a duo, great flute player, and we're actually playing at Brew Station in Cottage Grove next Saturday, if you want to check out some of this. Name of the band duo is a Petri Dish. We call it the Culture of Groove. As promised, this is Pull Me From the Rubble. Sometime I don't know you. We're strangers when we kiss. Look here. We both want something different, but we're settling for this. Like lame game on the open plain, like babies in the jungle. Come on, pull me from the rubble. I just can't believe this loneliness we share. We're lonely when we're on our own, and we're lonely as a pair. Look here. And lonely is as lonely does. It's like living in a bubble. Come on, pull me from the rubble. Waking is the hardest part to do. You know it's true. When someone you don't love lies next to you. Look here. Believing astrological myths, we've been blinded by its prayers. The laughs are superficial and the tears are just hot air. Look here. There's no blame and there's no shame. Don't even take the trouble. Come on, pull me from the rubble. I'm to my neck in this emptiness. So bring along your shovel. Come on, pull me from the rubble. Yeah, pull me from the rubble. Come on, pull me from the rubble. Yeah, pull me from the rubble. Again, Charles, Stephen, thank you for having it. And everybody was great. Thank you all for coming down.
Okay, well, you know, that's our event for today. A lot of great readers, a lot of fun. Our features were wonderful. Why don't you all just give yourselves a hand for being so good today? Thank you so much for coming out. And remember, we are here on the second Sunday of the month from 3 to 5 p.m. And next month, June, will be our last month for this season. We'll take a break for the summer, July, August, and September, and then we'll come back in October. So be sure to come next month and see us when our featured readers will be Emily Rush Hill and Dr. Veronica Isagui. And their information is on the back of the flyer back there, so be sure and pick one up. We'll see you next time. Thanks.